Hey everyone, hello. Welcome to this weekly Facebook Live. My name is Shalini Joshi Amdagni from magicalpainfreeliving.com, and I am doing these Facebook weekly live sessions every Thursday. So welcome to this. Hi Marcus, hi Joe. So nice to have you here. Hi Ram. Nice to have you guys here. This is my weekly Facebook Live, and today's topic is, well, this is not the topic. This is the story. Flexibility for flow. And it's all about bending with the changes and the challenges that life brings. So flexibility for flow. And in this Facebook Live, I'm going to be sharing with you a story. It's called the Forced Travel Story. I have it written somewhere. The Forced Travel Story, I'm going to be sharing with you fixed mindset versus flexibility mindset, and some 4 tips to help you choose a more flexible mindset. And also, just question, what if you could choose that flexibility mindset, and how would that shift things and put you back in flow? So if you are someone who is, who tends to kind of have difficulty adapting to changes, or who has a hard time accepting what's going on, and just, it's not easy for you to adapt to changes and challenges, then, this is for you. So let me begin with the forced travel story. Okay. And this is a personal story, and it's a very recent story. So I think it was, let me give you a bit of a background. So from starting mid-May till like the end of the 3rd week of May, okay, so about 15th of May to 24th of May, my kids were going through their exams. And so, at home, there was this whole stress and tension atmosphere that comes with, exams. I don't know. I used to be really tensed and really jittery during exam times. And so, my kids were going through their exams. My kids are in the IB school system, and IB is a very rigorous system, and my son is in the class 11 or year 12, as they say it here. And so it was a very tense atmosphere, and there were late nights and stressful discussions, and because in the IB system, the grades that you get in class 11, or what they call year 12 here, the grades that you get, they are called the predicted grades, and based on those grades, you apply for university applications, even though you don't have your final year grade. So it was a tense atmosphere, and even before May 15th, right, the leading up to the exam time had been like very hectic. The weekends had been spent studying, and so I couldn't get away to my weekly or almost bi-weekly nature mini getaways that I do. I hadn't been to my home in Rayong. It's in the countryside, which is like 10 minutes from the beach that I visit regularly. I hadn't been able to do that either. And I was just thinking to myself one day that once these exams are over, that weekend, I'm going to take off and go to the country house and just, hang out by the beach and just chill and relax. And so that was the plan. And so on right around the time that the kids were like second last exam or third last exam was going to happen, my husband, tells me that, due to some visa complications, I have to make a visit to India. And, it was like 3 days from now, you've got to go. you have no choice. You're not even allowed to stay because of the complication, and so you have no choice. You have to leave on on a specific date. 3 days, the day he told me, 3 days after that, I had to leave. So I was really bummed. I was really pissed. I was, wondering what the heck the agent who's been helping us was doing all this time, and so on and on. And anyway, so I started preparing for, this forced travel. And the agent was putting together documents I would need, to show the embassy in India. And I was doing my preparations, because when a mom leaves, if a dad leaves for travel, it's okay. But when the mom leaves, it's a lot more preparations, right? And so I was making those preparations, and the exams were over, and the next day I was flying out of Bangkok. So that night, it was, I think, a Saturday night, and Sunday morning was my flight. So Saturday night, we're looking through the documents, a stack of documents that I needed to present to the embassy, and I just wanted to go through it. And as my husband and me were flipping through the documents, we discovered that one key document that was absolutely crucial for this, for me to be able to come back and get the non-immigrant visa, was missing. And so all hell broke loose. I was really pissed off. I was so upset with the agent. I'm like, how come after 25 years of working in this business, she's making all these mistakes, and she didn't even tell us? And if we hadn't gone through the documents, I'd be stranded. And so my husband makes these calls, and she can't find that document, and it's chaos. And it's time for me the next morning to take off, because I have a ticket. And so the plan was that my husband would go on Monday morning to the embassy in Thailand, the Indian embassy in Thailand, and try to get that document by Monday afternoon. And actually, my plan was that I'll go on Sunday to Delhi, first thing in the morning, Monday, apply for the visa, right? Have all the documents ready and just apply it. It takes 4 working days to get the visa. And so I would have it by Thursday evening. And then Thursday evening, I would fly back, like late night, because my daughter had her really important musical theater performance, and I definitely didn't want to miss that. She'd been practicing, and she really wanted me to be there. So that was a plan, that I would apply Monday morning, and then Thursday evening I would have the visa, and late night Thursday I would fly out, and I could attend her, her musical theater performance on Friday. So it turns out we didn't have the documents, so I reached Delhi, and the next day is a very tense day for me, because I was waiting for my husband to send me the relevant document, but he had only applied for it at 10 o'clock at the embassy, and we were wondering, when the heck is it going to come? And so I went with my brother to the what is it called? The VFS. It's called this agent that processes all the visas for the Thai embassy. And we waited there until finally by 3:30 to 4 o'clock, I got the relevant document. My husband scanned and sent it to me, and we submitted it and gave it in to the lady at the to the agent. And she ran through the documents, and she said, well, now that we're submitting it on Friday evening, we need 4 working days, and so the document is not going to be available. I mean, the visa is not going to be available till Friday evening. And for that to happen, we needed, in 10 minutes, we needed to change the date of the flight. We needed a new flight ticket, because my flight was, 11 p.m. Thursday night. And because that document also had to be submitted So she said, if you can't give it to me in 10 minutes, then, then it'll take a longer time. And I was wondering, how the heck am I going to, get this document in 10 minutes? I was freaked out. I was very upset. I was going to miss my daughter's performance. And so I'm back and forth making phone calls to my husband, and he got in touch with the agent. And luckily, within 15 minutes, he was able to change the date on the ticket and send it back. But because it was already 5 o'clock, now the processing would take another 4 days, and I was definitely not going on the Thursday night flight. I was going on Friday evening, hopefully, if all the documents worked out. So it was a very unique day. It was a very nerve-wracking day, and it's a day that I haven't experienced for a long time. And so I was, as we left that office, I was just thinking, what the heck happened? Like, how did I attract this chaos and confusion and all this nervousness and all this stress? And we reached home, and I was quiet. I went for a shower. I was just so pissed, and I was tapping, and I was, over analyzing and overthinking. And I'm thinking, what did I do wrong? And I just went into this overthinking, over analyzing, over speculating kind of mode. And eventually, I had to say, just stop it. Stop it. What are you doing? And, I calmed down, and, I proceeded, and, my family, we had dinner together. The next morning, when I always meditate every single morning. And so when I meditated the next morning, the message that I got, was, let it be. Let it be. And if you go down a couple of posts before this, on my Facebook page, you'll see that post. Let it be. Because that was a message I got. And I said, you know what? I'm going to stop struggling. I'm going to stop the struggle. I'm going to stop the overthinking. I'm going to stop the blaming and criticizing and getting pissed with this agent for screwing up. And I'm just going to let it be. I know better. I've been doing this for 11 years. So I said, I'm just going to let it be. I'm going to stop overthinking. And I'm just going to, just try to just do my best right now. And so, I made a plan. I went with my sister-in-law, and I did some shopping for my home in Bangkok. The next day, I planned to meet some of my college friends, just catch up, and have a chat, and was really interesting because, we were having some deep discussions. And one of my friends said, oh my God, this is such a, you've come at such a important time. This is exactly the message that I needed to hear right now. She was talking about her work and some discussions around that. And she said, this was such perfect timing for her to have this message. And when I went back home, my nephew was telling me that, his grandma, my mom, had been sick, and he was telling her that I have a feeling that I am going to, be traveling to India very soon. And, I was just thinking about this whole thing, and I thought, sometimes we just don't know. We just don't know what the heck, why we're going through certain experiences, and, all these problems that show up as chaos and, challenges in our lives. But there was my nephew, who had already been sort of intending that I come. There was my friend who said, it's such perfect timing that you're here and that you're giving me this message because I really needed to hear it. And I was much more relaxed after that. I was much more in the flow. And, it's times like these, right, that really test your you as a person. And I thought, I'm doing pretty okay. I was meditating a lot more, and I was, tapping a lot more to clear out all the feelings that were coming up. And I sort of had to make peace with the fact that I will not be attending uh, my daughter's recital. But we Skyped, we spoke on Skype, and we did some tapping because we always do tapping together before her performance. And so I felt much more relaxed and way better than what I had been feeling a couple of days ago. And so I want to, that's the story of forced travel. But what I wanted to share with you is the two types of mindsets that we are forced to choose in these kind of situations. And one is the flexible mindset, and one is the fixed mindset. And so what happens is, with a fixed mindset, right, when you're faced with challenges and when you encounter situations that you weren't expecting, then if you have a fixed mindset, you'll tend to resist the challenge. You'll tend to criticize and blame and go round and round in circles in that mode. And you will keep seeing the problems as challenges, as problems that are trying to control you, that you have no control over, and then basically you'll feel helpless. And if it's a challenge that requires you to keep going, you won't. You will give up easily because you will be so overwhelmed and so negative and so unhappy, and basically keep moving forward, holding on to that negativity. And what happens is, when I often say that, bottled emotions, stored stress in your mind, in your heart, in your body, it overloads your system over time. It depletes your immunity. It causes dis-ease and pain. And unfortunately, you attract more of the same into your life, more negative experiences, more challenges, more situations to complain and whine about. But on the other hand, if you can, with a flexible mindset, you can embrace the challenge, right? You can find lessons and inspiration in the experience that you're having, whether it's it's a difficulty, it's a change, or it's a challenge. And you can see opportunities for growth. These are times when we really get to know ourselves. What is that saying? I don't know the exact saying, but you can recognize a person, like in good times, everybody's like wonderful, but it's in the bad times you really get to know a person's character. And so it's really an opportunity for growth and seeing how you can handle the outside circumstances, right? And instead of giving up, you will persist. You will find a way. You will push through that challenge and come out victorious. And you will look for a divine purpose to this whole situation that you find yourself in. After talking to, as I was saying, after talking to my friends, it was like, it was like a divine timing for this friend of mine who said, your visit here and all the stuff that you've just said is so perfect, and it's come at the right time. And my nephew was hoping that I would be there. And so we don't know how the universe is coordinating and, gathering all the components together to make, to bring you the experiences and all the people involved. So you never know, the higher purpose. And I believe there's no randomness in the universe. So, if you have a flexible mindset, you will be able to move through that challenge and come out on the other side feeling stronger, feeling, more strong within, and just you would have learned to deal with another situation. And every failure, right? What is that song? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so that's what's going to happen if you move forward with a flexible mindset. Now, I also want to share with you, how you can begin to develop a flexible mindset. Okay, I'm sharing with you 4 tips. And these are, number 1, acknowledge and accept. First of all, you got to acknowledge that this is where I am. This is what's going on. Don't live in denial, right? And this is, I don't know what challenges you're going through. I don't know what, whether it's a relationship challenge that you're going through, or it's a job challenge that you're going through. It's a financial crisis you're going through. You don't want to ignore it. You want to acknowledge and accept. It is what it is my phrase. It is what it is. It is what it is. It's like if you don't accept it, if you resist it, it's like there's a wall in front of you. You can see that there's a wall in front of you, and you're just banging your head till you're bleeding because you don't want it to be there, but it's there. So really important to acknowledge that you are in this situation. This is what's going on right now. And sometimes that can be really, really, really hard because, my situation wasn't like life and death. But there are times when you're going through a real crisis where it's not the usual stuff, right? Maybe a loved one is in a life-threatening situation, and it could be any serious situation. So having the ability to acknowledge that this is what it is and to accept that this is what's going on. And number 2 is to see all possible angles of that situation. You could see that, in my situation, for example, maybe I was just, maybe I was meant to go there. Maybe this problem happened because I had to visit my family in India. Maybe this wasn't the agent's fault at all. So I want, what I try to do is try to look at every single aspect of that situation and see the different angles. Maybe it wasn't her fault. Maybe it wasn't anyone's fault, right? So try to look at your situation, whatever challenge that you're going through right now. Look at it from all possible perspectives, right? And then detach and distance. It's like, I heard this somewhere, like, the thing that you're going through, the negativity, the stuff that comes up when you are faced with a challenge, it's like you don't have to own every thought that you think. Think of, when you're walking down a street and you see this ugly graffiti on the wall. It's ugly and it's there, but you can pass on by without taking it along with you, right? So you have to find a way to detach and distance yourself. Like, okay, this ugly thing is there, this painful thing is there, this unhappy thing is there, this frustrating thing is there. But once you kind of distance yourself from it, you give yourself breathing space for, to have a different perspective. So detach yourself. Don't stick to it. Just because your thoughts, you're thinking it, don't hold on to it. Don't attach to it. Okay? And reframe. Find a way of reframing this whole situation that you're involved in, right? Because the truth is that in life, not everything is going to work out the way you want it to, right? And you can hold on to the negativity and just pull yourself down and go down the other route. Or you might as well choose to set yourself up and, create a version of the situation that you're going through that puts you in the most useful, positive mental state. So create a version for yourself. There are times when somebody might say something really rude to you, right? and you are holding it in your heart. And how do you reframe something like that? Because that person said that something to you. But what if you could say, like, I don't know what situation she was in. I don't know, maybe she had a really, a crisis at home. Maybe the person they have a child and he's suffering. And they were just having a really bad day, and it's not meant for me personally. It's just them venting out this on me, but it's not mine. So I don't have to take it. So there are a million ways you can find to reframe, like see the whole picture from a completely different lens. And, as I was saying, you can choose the negative version, or you can choose a version. And the fact is that sometimes you'll never know why something happened. You'll never understand or be able to really get to the bottom of why this happened, why the airport delay, why was I have to have this forced travel. You'll never get to the bottom of it. So might as well choose a version for yourself that puts you in a positive, in a useful, in a better state, because your now is creating your future. And if you're going to be unhappy and upset and holding on to all that crap in the now, guess what? Your future is going to be full of it too. Because whatever you hold on to, whatever you resist, persists. Okay? So these are the 4 tips. Acknowledge and accept. See all possible angles of the situation you're in. Detach. Don't own it. Distance yourself from it. And then reframe the situation you're in. Of course, there is other stuff, that you probably have in your self-help toolbox. I have tapping. I tap and clear, and meditation is a very, very big tool for me. I always meditate. I meditate twice a day normally, but if I, when I was going through this crisis, this mini crisis, I was meditating a lot more. I was, even at the office when I was sitting there waiting, I was meditating because it was chaotic there. Like people were screaming, people were having all kinds of conversations, and it was all seeping into my ear. And I said, I'm not going to listen to this crap, because some people were shouting, some people were getting pissed. So I just meditate, and that really helps me. So, what is your tool? What is your go-to tool? Use all those tools. But, they say the stiffest tree, falls with the first gale, but it's the bamboo that learns to bend and go with the flow, right? That doesn't bend, and that lasts and lasts and lasts. And I had a quote here from Carl Jung, and it says, "Be grateful for your difficulties and challenges, for they hold blessings. They are necessary for growth, individuation, and self-actualization." So I hope, that puts things in perspective. And I don't know what challenges you're going through, but what if you could acknowledge and accept? What if you could detach yourself from that situation? What if you could see your current challenge or the changes that you're going through from all different angles? And what if you could reframe that situation, that challenge, that issue that you are having right now? What if? Like, what might be possible for you, for others in your life, if you could choose to stay flexible? I look forward to your comments, your reactions, and what you got out of this sharing. And please feel free to share this with someone that you think might benefit from it. And thank you for joining me live. I'm going to acknowledge, hi BJ, see you this evening. Hi Afshan, hi Scott, hi Claudia, hi Papa. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you next week on Thursday again with a new topic. Till then, bye-bye and stay flexible. Bye, guys.